Right now, in 2026, there is exactly one naturally aspirated V6 sedan left for sale in the United States. One. No turbocharger, no dual clutch gearbox, no 48-volt system trying to claw back a tenth of a mile per gallon. Just a 3.5-liter V6 and a conventional automatic transmission in a car that has been on sale in more or less the same form since 2014. That single fact tells you everything about where this industry is going, and it's the reason this video exists. Today I'm going through the 9 most reliable powertrains you can still walk into a dealership and buy brand new. Not the fastest, not the newest, and not the ones with the best screens. The ones built simply enough that they will still be running past 300,000 kilometers, which is a little under 200,000 miles. Before we start, tell me in the comments which brand you think takes the #1 spot. And if you already own one of these, drop your model and your current odometer reading, because I want to see how far these things are actually going. Subscribe while you're at it. I go through this kind of thing every week. Starting at number 9, we have Nissan's VQ V6 with the 9-speed automatic. Now, Nissan and reliability do not usually belong in the same sentence, and I want to be careful with this one because it comes with a condition attached. The VQ family has been in production since 1994, and it is still here today as the 3.5-liter VQ35DD in the Pathfinder and the 3.8-liter VQ38DD in the Frontier. Both are naturally aspirated. Both use a conventional 9-speed automatic, and the basic architecture underneath is as proven as anything on the market. Here's the condition. The current versions use direct injection, and direct injection on this engine appears to create more blow-by than the old port-injected version did. The reported result is that oil gets contaminated faster, and, on cars that go long between changes, it can turn into sludge that starves the timing chains. If you buy one of these, and you stick to the interval printed in the manual, you may be pushing your luck. If you change the oil every 4,000 to 5,000 miles, or roughly every 7,000 kilometers, owners who do that are reporting very few problems. This is a reliable powertrain that punishes neglect harder than most. At number 8, we have Honda and Acura's 3.5-liter V6, the J35. This engine family has been in continuous production for around 30 years, and it is currently under the hood of the Pilot, the Passport, the Ridgeline, the Odyssey, and the Acura MDX, making somewhere between 280 and 285 horsepower depending on the model. It comes in 2 forms right now. The older J35 V6 is the single overhead cam version with VTEC that Honda has been building since the 90s. The newer J35 V8, which arrived in the 2023 Pilot, is a dual overhead cam design without VTEC, using variable valve timing on both camshafts instead. Both are naturally aspirated. Both come with a conventional 9 or 10-speed automatic, and neither has a turbocharger anywhere near it. 2 things to know before you buy. First, this engine uses a timing belt, not a chain, and Honda's interval is 105,000 miles, or 7 years, whichever comes first. Budget somewhere around $1,500 and have the water pump done at the same time, because the labor is already paid for. Second, variable cylinder management is still there, and it is still the part of this engine that people argue about. Honda has revised it repeatedly, and it is far better behaved than it was 15 years ago. But some owners still report oil consumption creeping up past 100,000 miles. Number 7 brings us to the first 4-cylinder on the list, and that's any Subaru with the 2-liter or 2.5-liter boxer engine. These are the FB20 and the FB25, and you'll find them in the Impreza, the Crosstrek, the Forester, and the Outback. Older Subarus absolutely earned their reputation for head gaskets and oil consumption, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The FB family, which has now been in service for well over a decade, is a different engine. Both versions are naturally aspirated, both are far less prone to the head gasket failures that define the EJ era, and both will happily do 200,000 miles on ordinary maintenance. The part people worry about is the transmission, because everything here comes with a CVT. Subaru's Lineartronic is not a typical CVT. It uses a chain rather than a rubber belt, and it has proven considerably more durable than the CVTs that gave the technology its reputation. It still wants its fluid changed, and Subaru's own service schedule is more optimistic than most independent shops would recommend, so treat 60,000 miles as your outside limit and you'll be fine. Number 6 is any Honda running the 2-liter 4-cylinder from the K20C family, and this is where the engine codes really start to matter. There are 3 versions currently relevant. The K20C1 is the turbocharged, direct-injected engine in the Civic Type R and the Acura Integra Type S, and it's a phenomenal engine, but it is the most complicated one here. The K20C9 is a naturally aspirated 2-liter with direct injection and an Atkinson cycle, and that's what went into the base Civic from 2025 onward. And then there's the K20C2, which is the interesting one. It's a naturally aspirated 2-liter with traditional port fuel injection, which makes it the only Earth Dreams engine Honda ever built that way, and you can still find it in the HR-V. Port injection means no carbon buildup on the intake valves, which is the single most common long-term complaint about modern direct-injected engines. 158 horsepower is not going to excite anybody, and it comes attached to a belt-driven CVT rather than a proper automatic. But as a piece of engineering meant to run for 250,000 miles with nothing but oil changes, it's about as good as anything currently sold. If you're finding this useful, hit the like button. That's what tells YouTube to show this to other people who are actually trying to buy a car that lasts. At number 5, we stay with Honda, and this one might be better than the last. The 2-liter Atkinson Cycle 4-cylinder in Honda's 2-motor hybrid system, which you'll find in the Civic Hybrid, the Accord Hybrid, and the CR-V Hybrid. The current version is new as of 2023, making 145 horsepower in the CR-V and 146 in the Accord. What makes this powertrain worth your attention is what it doesn't have. There is no conventional transmission at all. The wheels are driven by an electric motor almost all of the time. The gasoline engine spends most of its life acting as a generator, and when you get up to a steady cruise, a lockup clutch simply connects the engine straight to the wheels. No torque converter, no planetary gear sets, no clutch packs, no CVT belt. Honda has been building versions of this system since 2014, and the failure rate on the transmission side is close to nothing because there is barely a transmission there to fail. Worth knowing that the current engine does use direct injection, so it is a newer design than the system it sits inside, and it hasn't yet accumulated the same decade of road data. Number 4 goes to Mazda, specifically any car with the naturally aspirated 2-liter or 2.5-liter Skyactiv engine. The 2-liter lives in the MX-5, and the 2.5-liter is in the Mazda 3, the CX-30, the CX-5, and the CX-50. If you want a modern car that behaves like an old one, this is the powertrain. No turbocharger, no dual clutch, no CVT anywhere. Just a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder and a conventional torque converter automatic or a manual, which is a combination that is genuinely running out of places to hide in 2026. Mazda has been refining Skyactiv for close to 15 years now, and this powertrain is most of the reason Mazda has quietly climbed to the top of reliability rankings that used to be a 2-horse race between Toyota and Lexus. There is direct injection, and on some versions there's cylinder deactivation, and neither has produced anything like the problems those features caused elsewhere. Now the top 3. At number 3, we have any Toyota with the A25A or M20A engine, both part of the Dynamic Force family. The 2-liter M20A is in the Corolla, the Corolla Cross, and the current Prius. The 2.5-liter A25A is in the Camry, the RAV4, the Sienna, the Crown Signia, and the Grand Highlander, and it is now offered almost exclusively as a hybrid. Both are naturally aspirated, both have very few known mechanical faults, and when they're bolted to Toyota's hybrid system, you get something close to the best-case scenario for longevity. That system uses 2 electric motors and a planetary gear set, what Toyota calls an eCVT, and it is one of the most trouble-free transmissions ever put into a mass-produced car. There is no belt, there are no pulleys, and there are no clutch packs. It's a set of gears that never disengage, and the failure rate reflects that. Number 2 is the Toyota Corolla Hybrid. and it earns the spot for one reason. It is the only Toyota still sold with the older 1.8-liter four-cylinder, an engine that predates the entire dynamic force family and is mechanically simpler than anything that replaced it. Paired with the 5th-generation Toyota hybrid system, it produces a combined 138 horsepower and returns as much as 50 miles per gallon, with all-wheel drive available if you want it. Nobody is buying this car to enjoy it. They're buying it because of what happens at high mileage. Taxi and rideshare fleets across North America, Europe, and the Middle East run Toyota hybrids almost exclusively. And they do it because these cars reportedly cross 300,000 miles, or roughly 500,000 kilometers, without a major mechanical repair. Fleet buyers do not care about brand loyalty. They care about the cost per mile, and they have been voting with their money on this powertrain for 20 years. And that brings us to number 1, the Lexus IS350, and the 3.5-liter V6 known as the 2GR FKS. This is the car I opened the video with. As of the 2026 model year, Lexus dropped the turbocharged 4-cylinder IS300 and the V8-powered IS500, which leaves the IS350 as the only version and as the last naturally aspirated V6 sedan on sale in America. It makes 311 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Rear-wheel drive cars get an 8-speed automatic and all-wheel drive cars get a 6-speed, both of them conventional torque converter units. There is no turbocharger, no cylinder deactivation, and no engine stop-start. It uses both port and direct injection together, which means the intake valves still get washed with fuel and the carbon problem never develops. The chassis underneath it dates to 2014, so every part of this car has been in production long enough that anything that was going to break has already been found and fixed. You'll pay for the privilege because the starting price climbed to around $45,500 when the cheaper trims disappeared. What you get for it is a brand new car that a competent mechanic can still work on in 20 years. So that's the list. 9 powertrains you can still buy brand new that were built to last, rather than built to hit an emissions target. Now here's what I actually want to argue about in the comments. Take the Lexus IS350 and the Toyota Corolla hybrid and run them both to 300,000 miles. The Lexus has no hybrid battery to replace and no electric motors to worry about, but it has a real transmission and a lot more moving parts. The Corolla has almost no transmission to break, but it does have a battery pack with a finite life. Which one costs less to own over that distance, and why? Tell me below, and if you've owned any car on this list, put your mileage and anything major you've had to fix. Subscribe and hit the bell, because next week I'm doing the opposite list. The new cars that will not make it past 100,000 miles.